The ocean's one big black beast, and it's just swallowed me whole. That's it, I think. This is the end.
What is this game about?
Narcosis is a survival story. It's set at the bottom of the ocean, hundreds of miles from land. And the player is trapped in a diving suit. And they're in the role of like an industrial diver, sort of like a rig operator on a deep sea energy extraction lab. There's some sort of catastrophe, we don't really know what it is, and the game is really about the 7 or 8 hours this guy spends trapped on the bottom of the ocean and what he has to do to survive.
I gotta say, first time playing this game, atmosphere. Like, you guys create this wonderful, very deep, dark atmosphere. Can you talk about sort of the environment that we are trudging ourselves through?
Right, so it's basically the most hostile environment on Earth, you know, and it's incredibly terrifying. It's completely alien, but it's also very beautiful, you know, hauntingly beautiful. And so that's definitely something we're trying to leverage. I mean, the demo that you're checking out is very oppressive, but, you know, we're definitely looking forward to creating moments of, you know, sort of ethereal beauty and sort of almost transcendent, stuff like that. One of the central tenets of the game is that you're inside what we call a walking coffin. You're in a diving suit, high tech and ultra durable. Nothing is going to hurt you, right? You're completely safe inside this metal shell. But it's what's inside the shell and sort of what's inside here that can really undo you, you know, cause you harm.
More than just what's happening on the outside, there seems to be a lot of things happening on the inside of the shell as well. I noticed as I was starting to lose oxygen, I could hear myself breathe a little heavier. Yep. Things became a little bit blurry, like towards the end. Can you talk about like how you set up like not only the outside world but also like the inside world that you?
Yeah, it's all about being trapped in the suit, right? So so one of our key tenets is just total immersion, right? And sight and sort of what you're seeing, you can see all the HUD elements in your helmet. You know, you have to actually actively look around, or, you know, with the stick to see how much oxygen you have, how much energy you have, how many flares you have. But you're also getting sort of this feedback. You know, you can hear yourself breathing. You can see your breath on the faceplate, and, you know, as your heart rate starts to accelerate, those things go faster and faster, and it can definitely create a pretty claustrophobic experience.
You do seem to have some tools at your disposal while you're down here. Can you talk about some of them?
You have just a handful of tools, and they are actually just tools. You know, you have a diving knife, you have a flashlight, and you have a flare gun, right? And so actually, light and using light, or sometimes suppressing light, is a really big element of our game. You know, there's all sorts of things down there that you probably don't want to cross paths with, and some of them are attracted to light, and some of them are, you know, driven off by light. And so using those things in different ways to sort of stay alive is a pretty big part of the experience.
It's really, you guys do an amazing job of creating the sense of weight as well as environment that's going into it. And I know that along with sort of like making this game, you also have made it so that you can play it with Oculus Rift.
Yep.
How, obviously you've already mentioned some of the things like having to look inside the suit itself, moving around. Can you talk about sort of like the idea of like having to think basically as someone who is inside of something using the Oculus Rift with the game?
To be perfectly honest, like, virtual reality, I mean, we were totally aware of it, but it wasn't really something we were actively planning for when we were building the game. But as we started discussing with people, you know, Oculus Rift, you know, and then later on, you know, Morpheus. And so we took a look and, you know, put the game on the Oculus, and the results are pretty amazing, like right out of the box with like very minimal fine tuning. And a lot of that has to do with, you know, basically, the fiction is very understandable. You're trapped in a diving suit at the bottom of the ocean. Everyone can get that. But then also when you're putting this actual gear on your head and you're suppressing your sound with a big set of headphones, and you can hear, you know, sort of your breathing inside the helmet, like the illusion is not only, you know, very complete, but it's tactile. It's very physical, you know. So once again, like, that's not something we planned for, but it seems to have worked out really well in our favor.
Now, obviously this game is sort of like coming in with a very good sort of like other squad of other, I wouldn't say survival horror games, but maybe horror exploration games. We have Amnesia, Soma, the new Alien game that's coming in. What do you think will excite people the most who really are looking for this kind of game?
Well, I mean, it's just speaking personally, like not for the team. I think people will come for the, what we consider to be really beautiful graphics. We have a really talented artist, Benjamin, like one guy pumping all this stuff out, and he's incredible. So I think that's definitely an initial hook. I think there's definitely an appetite for sort of scary stuff out there. But what we hope that people will take away from it and stick around for is that we've got this sort of phantom narrative, and you've heard some of it in the demo. And basically, this is a very isolated experience, and while the player plays through the game, they hear little bits of themselves, talking about the experience in the past tense, and so the mystery for the player becomes, sort of, what is this? What is this I'm hearing? Who am I talking to? When am I talking to them? What are the conditions, right? Is it like, am I talking to my shrink? Am I talking to some crazy lady on the bus? And it's not a heavy element. It's not persistent. It just comes through once in a while, but that's something we're really extra excited about because we feel like we're doing something kind of different.
Probably one of my great fears is like being like really stuck at the bottom of the ocean.
Right.
Not being able to breathe, being out of control, basically that one gasp of air that you have left, just not within your grasp.
Yep, you have to use it wisely.
And I think that, what little I've played of this game, you guys completely nail it.
Cool.
With both the sense, the feeling, and the beautiful environment. I gotta ask, what is sort of the window that you're looking for release?
The game is coming out in 2015.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly when and under what conditions and, in what format, that's all TBD, but it's coming out in 2015. So.
Excellent. Well, I can't wait to play more of it when you have more of it, and hopefully I can build up the courage to put on the Oculus Rift so I can play through this as well.